Motus reporting today. Our preference for cheaper cars, the fact we're trying to hold on to our cars for longer, is making life a little tougher for the industry. The group reporting its revenue down 1%, headline earnings per share up by 5%. Ockert, Janse van Rensburg, is the CEO at Motus. Ockert, good evening. You say in our market there was some growth in the passenger vehicle market. I mean, how much growth is there in quite a tough time?
Good evening, Stephen, and yes, nice to talk to you again. It's interesting that, perceptions and facts are sometimes slightly different. The reality is that the new vehicle market seems to be quite robust at the moment. And in fact, even in going beyond June, in July and August, we were still seeing that, the vehicle market continued to be strong with more than 50,000 vehicles sold per month. This is much higher than what we had in the previous year. And when you look closely at our results, our new volumes for South Africa actually grew by 8%. If you are ever dissected a bit more, you will see that the revenue growth isn't that high in rand terms, which means people have been trading down, and even though the volumes are higher, they have been buying smaller vehicles, cheaper vehicles, and you probably see that trend will continue in the near future as well.
And what that means then is you need entry-level vehicles to sell. Some of the bigger brands, some of the more established brands have been producing those. Does that help?
Yes, I think that's the area of the market that certainly has produced the most growth in the industry at the moment. So you would have seen that most new entrants into our market all coming with vehicles that's slightly cheaper in price. Not so many have been able to really crack that entry level. I think when you look and you try and find out who's actually selling those entry-level vehicles, it's more the products that are being manufactured in India rather than China. And all our new entrants have really been around Chinese. So you would have seen also that we announced a week ago that we now also are importing Tata. We launched that at the beginning of September, and that is aimed more at the entry-level market as well, because we do believe that is where the growth opportunity is going to lie in the near term.
People used to talk about owning the latest BMW, Mercedes, Benz or Audi. Now I think people are looking at SUVs, but is that sort of demand for luxury sedans just fallen off a cliff?
Yes, it has actually been lower, although we have seen that the likes of BMW is still is sort of trying to hold its own. I think you have certainly seen that Mercedes and both Audi, Land Rover and Volvo all, having much lower numbers. So unfortunately that has happened for those brands. But, we are active economy here and abroad. So, in the end consumers talk, and what the consumers want is what you need to be able to deliver. I think for us it is quite important to still, maintain our market leadership where we sell 1 in 5 new passenger vehicles. So we have to move with the times, and that's also been part of what we've been focusing in the last year, is to make sure that our brand representation at our leadership level is what the customers want.
A lot of talk, obviously, about cheaper Chinese cars coming into the market. I don't know if they have the sort of dealership networks, the service networks that you have for more established brands. I'm told anecdotally that finding parts can be a challenge. Do you expect that to change quite quickly? I mean, is that going to change the kind of service you provide maybe at some point?
Yes, I think you have to move with the times, and I think with new entrants, they normally do struggle a little bit when it comes to parts and the like, as you just mentioned. I do expect them to make parts available. I don't think it's something that they will ignore. We have certainly seen the more established ones, the ones who have been around now for a couple of years, and now throwing the Chinese names like Haval and Chery around. They certainly have, already started with proper parts distribution hubs, and you probably see less of an issue there. So I think it is developing, and you have to see for what it's worth. I think a brand new entrant will find it tough, and part of the value proposition is around being able that you can service the vehicles later. I mean, even if you look at our results, we make 55% of our profits not from the vehicle side, from the selling of a vehicle, but actually from other, providing parts, services, car rental, etc. And I think that's how everyone in the dealership space will look at it as well. Is if you can't provide, proper parts and delivery of service later, they probably wouldn't want those brands. So the brands themselves need to adapt as well to make sure that the dealership network do want them.
When people keep their cars for longer because they don't want to buy a new car, and I appreciate what you say about the new car market, but do people keep coming to a sort of frontline service provider like you, or do they start to look for a cheaper option? In other words, the older someone's car, the longer they're hanging on to it because they can't afford a new one. Could it be they start to look for an option that might be a little cheaper than you, Ockert?
Yes, so most definitely, I think what people do is they stay with the brand for a duration of time, probably as long as the warranty periods are still in play. You will not easily see people switching out. But once you pass the 5 years, or even in the case of underwear, they got 7 years, you start seeing people switching out, going in more into the independent service providers. And if you analyze the market, only about 2.5 million vehicles are currently sitting in that warranty period, while probably about 9.5 million is sitting outside of that period. So certainly that's an area of focus for us, and that's why we've also invested heavily into the aftermarket parts business, where we derive more than 23% of our profits from, is supplying parts to those sectors. And I think the most exciting one for us at the moment in South African space is certainly that we've moved more into that informal space as well, where there's a lot of mechanics in informal settlements of repairing vehicles and making sure we can get quality parts also into that market, which was probably quite underserved before. So that's been a focus area for us. And then I suppose aftermarket parts in general, whether it's here or abroad, people do hang on to the vehicles for longer. We've seen those replacement cycles extend. And even our business in the UK in aftermarket parts is performing exceptionally well.
Ockert, Janse van Rensburg, thanks very much indeed. CEO of Motus, do appreciate it.